This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also, for the most part, unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 76th time, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Reviewing Network Live. On a busy weekend here. We had the start of kickoff of our Madden 25 tournament today. If you didn't see those games that were happening today, please go ahead and check those videos out here on the channel. But yeah, we haven't had any news to cover here. Of course, last week we had the Super Bowl, so that was basically taking up what would have been the time to put the week stories up into that episode. And we're going to have all those stories and more this week. We have a lot to get to. We have a lot of things to get to in general. So, let's not waste any more time and just get right to where we usually start off with, and that is the weekend box office. And it's going to be a very, very interesting box office to talk about, to say the least, for obvious reasons. But the first film we have here to talk about is one that's making headlines all across the globe, and I know nothing about it. So let's just get right to the number 5 movie this week, and that is Nisa 2, which... if you haven't heard about this movie, it's the movie that everyone's been talking about as the film that has gone on to become one of the highest grossing films of all time. It has surpassed the $1 billion mark already because it's a Chinese animated film. It's already opened up in China and places across the country, even though if you go to Box Office Mojo, it's only depicting the domestic box office opening for this movie, which is still pretty impressive for this film. So if you don't know about this movie, and I know I certainly don't, but... according to Box Office Mojo's page, after the catastrophe, although the souls of Nisa and Aorbing were saved, their bodies would soon be shattered. Tai Zirin planned to use the 7-colored lotus to rebuild their bodies. That's really all I know about this movie in general. I know nothing about the first film. I didn't even know that there was even a first film for this, but yeah, there's really not much more I could say about how I feel about this because I know nothing about this movie or its sequel or anything about what this thing is in general. But you know, for something that didn't have a big marketing push overall, it still did pretty well, opening on only 660 theaters and bringing in $7.2 million with an average of $10,900 in general. So it did very well, all things considered. Yeah, just like I said, I know nothing about this, so I can't really delve more into it too much. So, but hey, good on that movie. Good on that movie for making an impact here in the U.S. and crossing $1 billion is pretty impressive stuff for something like this. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to number 4 this week. And that is the number 1 movie from last week, which was Dogman, which held up much better this week than it did last week, but dropping only 30% to $9.7 million this weekend, bringing its 3-week total to $66.8 million, bringing its worldwide total up to $87.2 million. So it's already doubled its budget. It only cost $40 million to make, so this is a hit. This is a hit all the way across the board. A big hit overall, so I'm glad to see it because it was a real fun movie. Speaking of which, let's go to number 3, which was the number 2 movie last week, a film that actually has held up pretty well, all things considered. It's a horror film. Horror films don't usually track that well after the second weekend, but this one did. Hard Eyes, which improved last week to 20.4%, but then again, Valentine's Day weekend, it's a movie about a killer with hard eyes. Of course, it's going to be a hit, but. You know, $10 million is not too bad for this for its second weekend. $21.5 million. If you take worldwide grosses, it's up to $22.6 million. But then again, that's including President's Day weekend numbers, which we'll get to those in just a little bit. But But yeah, not much more to say about that one. I haven't seen it, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. So let's get to the two big new releases of the weekend. Number 2 this weekend, Paddington in Peru, which is a film that has already opened up overseas a couple months ago, and has already surpassed its $90 million budget with that, over $131 million worldwide. The domestic gross for this movie opening up is $13 million, which is not that bad at all. In fact, far from it. It's really, really good for this film. In terms of, the money it's already made already. And also the fact that it was just a really good, fun movie. I mean, this was a really fun film. Yeah, it doesn't have the same director as the previous 2 movies. There are notable differences in this film compared to the other 2 films, but this one did pretty well overall, even though the numbers here domestically won't probably show it, and it probably won't make the $90 million here domestically. It's already surpassed that and then some. It's because of that money it's made overseas. I'm actually trying to see how it did in terms of the other 2 movies, because I don't think the other two movies didn't open up well. The first movie opened up pretty well, because it was I think it made like $25 million here in the U.S. on its opening weekend. Let me see. It was close, $19 million, which is still pretty good for that movie. And then the second film was kind of overshadowed mostly. I don't know why it didn't do well, but it was a really good movie. The second one only brought in, I think, $11 million. It didn't really do that well, which was a shame because that was a good, fun film overall. And yeah, these films are just good fun. I'm glad to see that this one did very well. So yeah, what more can you say, man? The Paddington movies, they're good fun all across the board. Let's go ahead now and move into what's going to bring up the most interesting bit of conversation throughout the course of the next couple of weeks, and that is the number 1 movie, Captain America: Brave New World. Now, the good news for the movie is that it's a hit. It is a hit. It's brought in $88.5 million over the 3-day weekend. If you include President's Day tomorrow, it's at $100 million. And if you take in the worldwide gross, it's up to $192.4 million. It cost $180 million to make, so it did make its budget back overall, so it's going to make some kind of a profit here, not a whole lot. Just to kind of run down some of the other ones here, the other President's Day weekends before we get deep into Captain America. Paddington in Peru over the 4-day weekend is set to bring in $16 million. Dogman moves up to number 3 to $12.5 million, bringing its 3-week total to $69.5 million. Hard Eyes is at $11.1 million, up to $22.6, and Knees Out 2 is $8.3 million. So there you go. There's those ones there. Now, Captain America: Brave New World. Of course, this is a very polarizing film. Some people hate it. Some people like it. I'm in the camp of I kind of liked it. I gave it a mild thumbs up to, yeah, because I'm not going to say that it's a perfect movie by any means necessary. It is not the same as the best Captain America movies, The Winter Soldier and Civil War, but it's definitely not as bad as I think people have let on. And I think people are just hating it for the bizarre reasons in particular, because when I was getting ready to put my review together, I came across this photo online that someone posted on one of my social media pages where they had all these different quotes about, if you is the starter pack for Captain America: Brave New World, positive reviews. Like somebody put a whole thing on there about, positive reviews for Captain America: Brave New World what kind of words they were going to say in there. Like, you got lines like, it wasn't that bad. They mentioned adamantium. It didn't piss me off. It's all right. It's fine. Like, I want to believe that this is a joke that somebody put up on there, and I hope that nobody's taken that seriously, because, some of the things that they have in here just don't make any sense in this one little picture I'm looking at here. I'm literally looking at it right now as I speak. In fact, let me go ahead and take the camera up here a little bit so I can show you myself. I had to take this off of my review that I did for it because I can't find the picture, but let's do it like this. So yeah, there you go. That's what it looks like. So yeah, you see, as Lisa's got some closure on the big Celestial and Eternals. I hate the Sony movies more. Again, I want to believe that this is some kind of a big joke overall, and nobody really means it that way, but yeah, there were a lot of people who were really thrashing this movie for no particular reason, and not the reasons that the movie should be thrashed for. I mean, I agree, there are a ton of flaws with the film, but I like some of the stuff that they were trying to go for here. I like the fact that they were trying to go for like this 70s Manchurian Candidate style thriller type of aspect here. But when they start throwing in all the references, and then adding these pointless story subplots that have still yet to be completed too in this, like, I'm gonna get into that a little bit later on here, but I thought Anthony Mackie was really good. I thought Harrison Ford was really good. I thought Carl Lumbly playing, now I can't remember his name now. Carl Lumbly was Isaiah Bradley. I thought he was really good in here too. I thought there was a lot of good things about the movie that were fun. I even liked the Red Hulk scene at the end of it, but I just wish it wasn't the end of the final climax of the movie. I mean, there's a lot of problems with Brave New World, but to say that it's downright terrible and one of the worst things in the MCU, there has been much, much worse than what this movie did. And yeah, I really do not think that this is a bad movie by any means. It's not a great film, but it certainly is not one of the worst things ever. And it could have been a whole lot worse considering how much the bad word of mouth was coming in on this. But I didn't hate it. Would I watch it again? Maybe if there was nothing else on TV or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this film is a great film overall. But yeah, it's definitely a film that is very, very, very jumbled, very messy, and definitely needs a lot of work to going forward with what they're setting up here. But I want to see more with Sam Wilson. I want to see more with Harrison Ford in here as Thaddeus Ross. I mean, as Thaddeus Ross, I thought that would be I think that's kind of cool to see what they could do going forward. Like, there's so much I do kind of appreciate about the film, but there's also a lot of stuff I do not like about the film in general, and I wish that there's more to do, and I hope that they can fix a lot of these problems that the MCU is trying to fix in here, but they're still trying to squeeze them into at the same time. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I didn't hate it. I thought it was overall a good movie, but it certainly is nowhere near as good as what the original Captain America films did. Now, in terms of the box office, this is where it's going to get pretty interesting because, you know, the box office for this it still made $100 million over the 4-day weekend, so it still made enough to say that it's a profitable hit in general, but you know, the critics have what they say on here, and of course Metacritic has it at about a mixed average at 42 out of 100, but the big thing you want to look at is the cinema score, which is a B-, and that's the lowest grade ever for a Marvel Cinematic Universe film. And keep in mind, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania had a B when that opened up 2 years ago, and that film started off strong and then all of a sudden just kind of, you know, petered off big time. It like really fell apart after the next couple of weeks, and I don't think there was any really big competition at that point to really combat it, as far as I can tell. In fact, let me double check just to make sure. I mean, okay, you had some competition. You had Cocaine Bear, which came out the following week. Then you had Creed 3 the following week, and then you had Scream 6. And then you had Shazam: Fury of the Gods, and you had all these different blockbusters coming out. But I'm taking a look at what's coming up over the next couple of weeks here for Captain America, and it really isn't a lot. There are some things here that don't really look like they could stop this movie from making its money back in general. I mean, trying to look and see what's coming out next week. I think the only thing I see that's notable coming out next week is of all things, The Unbreakable Boy, the Zachary Levi movie, which is, I think, targeting the faith-based audiences, so it'll probably find its way to make money there. But other than that, though, next week is not looking too stacked overall, nor does the week after that. There's nothing really that significant. I think the next big week for new movies is going to be on March 7th when the new Bong Joon-ho movie, the director of Parasite, Mickey 17 opens up, which the early word of mouth on that is great. I'm hearing a lot of really good stuff about that one. I'm definitely looking forward to checking that one out indeed. But that, I feel like, is going to be the next big competition for Captain America: Brave New World. So it would not surprise me at all if this did stick around and make money over the next couple of weeks. And it should be able to make a profit in general going forward. I think it'll make its money back. I think it'll make a profit overall. Yeah, I think it's going to do decent numbers overall. I don't think it's going to do gangbuster numbers, but it should do well enough to at least warrant possibly another film in the series, and hopefully somebody else can come in and give this series a better direction. Because I don't think this director who did this movie did a good job on this whatsoever. This is the same guy that did the Cloverfield Paradox, and I think that was their overall biggest mistake, was hiring him. But again, we'll see what happens overall. My personal thinking right now is that this movie's got nothing to worry about in terms of losing too much of its audience overall. I think it's going to have the benefit of a lackluster couple of weeks before Mickey 17 comes out on the 7th. But then again, who knows? Stranger things have indeed happened, but we will definitely see. But yeah, that is the weekend box office as a whole. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get to some news stories from the last couple of weeks. So this was a story from a couple of weeks ago, and it was the news that Buffy the Vampire Slayer is coming back to Hulu. I mean, it looks like it's basically coming back to it. It's mostly a pilot order from Hulu, as the story here from Deadline Hollywood says. It says, more than 2 decades after Buffy the Vampire Slayer ended its 7-season run, the beloved supernatural drama is eyeing a revival with a new chapter in the franchise. A follow-up series is nearing a pilot order from Hulu starring Sarah Michelle Gellar, with Sarah Michelle Gellar expected to star, reprising her signature role as Buffy Summers, sources say. Oscar winner Chloe Zhao, a self-proclaimed lifelong Buffy fan, is set to direct the pilot, written by Nora and Lila Zuckerman of Poker Face. The reboot hails from Buffy the Vampire Slayer Studio 20th Television and Disney's sibling Searchlight TV, where Zhao has been under a first-look deal. I hear is behind the pilot order. I hear the reboot is starting a writer's room soon, a sign that Hulu and the studios have high expectations for the project going to series. It is unclear yet whether other official Buffy cast members will return. That is considered likely. Described as the next chapter in the Buffyverse, the new incarnation is executive produced by Gellar, Zhao via her Book of Shadows banner, Nora and Lila Zuckerman, as well as the original series executive producers Gail Berman and of the Jackal Group, and Fran Kazoo and Kaz Kazoo via Suit B. Joss Whedon, who also wrote the 1992 series that was based on the series, has no involvement in the reboot. He has not worked in Hollywood in any official capacity since facing a slew of misconduct allegations in 2021. So essentially, they're working on a new Buffy the Vampire series, and considering that franchise still has a lot of life to it, and considering that the original show is still really damn good. I mean, I was watching it again not too long ago, and I'm amazed that show has held up as well as it did. I mean, even the movie that has nothing really to do with the show, that came out in 92, was still a ton of fun overall. So I'm really excited to see what they do with the new series in general. Just don't be the same show all over again. I guess that's all you can really ask for this one in particular. So nothing too significant more to say about that one. It's just that a show that's nearing an order at Hulu. And the fact that they have a writer's room pretty much ready to go, I think Hulu and Disney are going to try really hard to get this thing going pretty quickly. So I'd be curious to see how that works out. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next story here. Well, the bad news is the Kansas City Chiefs may have lost the Super Bowl badly last week, but don't worry, they're fully prepared for the future. They're going to move on from this and move on to what really matters to them going forward. Whoring the hell out of themselves. The Kansas City Chiefs apparently are going Hollywood by literally launching a production studio, and I've got the story here from the Hollywood Reporter. This was actually a story that was posted just before the Super Bowl, so take that for what you will. But it says here, the Kansas City Chiefs are pursuing further into the entertainment business, launching a production company just ahead of Super Bowl 59. The new venture, Foolish Club Studios, will develop scripted and unscripted programming for both short-form and long-form platforms. The Chiefs have always experimented in the sector, as well as with last year's Hallmark Channel film Holiday Touchdown, A Chiefs Love Story, and with the online claymation short A Kingdom Christmas Story, Hail Mary. Foolish Club will seek to develop the business further into an effort that grows the Chiefs brand. While the team already has one in-house production team, 65 Toss Power Trap production group that is focused on football content, Foolish Club will be focused more on entertainment fare that expands the boundaries of what the team is currently doing. The name Foolish Club is a tribute to team and American Football League founder Lamar Hunt, who were with the original owners embracing the foolish effort to try to take on the National Football League. Foolish Club Studios is a tribute to my father in so many ways, says Clark Hunt, chairman and CEO of the Kansas City Chiefs. In a statement, my father constantly pushed boundaries and inspired innovative thinking, and that is exactly the ethos we expect this new studio to embrace as we expand our ambitions in storytelling and continue to make the game more accessible to our fans. We are thrilled to launch Foolish Club Studios and are excited for what this new business represents in our ability to explore amazing stories of hard work, innovation, perseverance, humility, sportsmanship, fandom, and more, Team President Mark Donovan added. Storytelling around sports captivated Lamar, and we believe that the studio will capture the hearts and soul of his vision and allow us to connect with individuals around the world in new and unique ways regardless of their fandom. The NFL, of course, is also invested in the entertainment space. The league has partnered with David Ellison's Skydance to launch the sports-focused enterprise venture, Skydance Sports. So in other words, they're saying, we want to make a lot more money than we're already making. I mean, that's pretty much what this basic is. And this is not the first time we've had an unusual thing deciding to launch their own production company. I mean, back in the fall, we just had Chick-fil-A announcing that they were going to put out a streaming service and put out their own original content on there. I mean, if Chick-fil-A is going into the entertainment business, why not the Kansas City Chiefs? I mean, we all know why they're doing it. It's more of a venture to possibly lure Travis Kelce out of into retirement and focus on producing films to them. Maybe get Taylor Swift involved. I mean, that's really what this whole thing feels like in general. I mean, I don't know if I could see any other team is doing something like this. I mean, even the Dallas Cowboys, which they're known for like gloating around here, I don't even think they would venture into this much deep capital as a whole, like go into this deep territory. But then again, they do promote the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders in a reality show format. So I guess it's not entirely too crazy to think about here. But I mean, I don't know. I just don't think this is going to end up very well at all. Judging by the fact of what they worked on beforehand, I feel like this is going to be something that's going to be centered towards the same type of people that go to see stuff from Angel Studios and, all these faith-based properties that come out, like The Chosen and all that type of stuff. Like, I feel like that's the market they're going for with this. Like, I don't think we're going to see anything like on a level of something like a production out of Disney or Universal or Warner Brothers or any of the big studios. This just feels like something that's completely as outside the Hollywood circuit, and it could be completely disastrous, or it could end up working on their favor. Who knows? We just have to wait to see what happens, and I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out here. So that's that. Let's go ahead and move on to the next story that we have here. So I'm not going to lie. When I heard this story that I'm about to talk about here, all I can think to myself is, did you see what you have started, David Zaslav, with getting rid of Batgirl, shutting down all these projects, Coyote versus Acme, and it's kind of hard not to see why when you read the story at first. And I'm going to read it here off of Variety. A star-studded movie musical about the childhood of Pharrell Williams has been permanently shuttered and will not see release in any capacity. The product in question is Golden, originally titled Atlantis and was directed by Michel Gondry, who of course did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Be Kind, Rewind, which I just took a look at on Time About the Movies. It was set for wide release from Universal on May 5th, though sources stated the date was pushed internally last year. It boasts a heavyweight cast of chart toppers and Oscar winner, including Kelvin Harrison Jr., Halle Bailey, Divine Joy Randolph, Brian Tyree Henry, Janelle Monáe, Missy Elliott, Quanita Brunson, Anderson Peake, and Jabuki Young White. Universal set up and financed the efforts as part of their long-standing creative partnership with Williams, who is notably a composer and performer for the blockbuster Despicable Me franchise. Multiple sources tell Variety that the project was shut down after unanimous agreement from producers and Gondry that the film did not live up to its developed conceit. Gil Netter of The Blind Side served as producer alongside Williams and his creative partner Mimi Valdez. When all of us got into the editing room, we collectively decided there wasn't a path forward to tell the version of the story that we originally envisioned, Williams and Gondry told Variety in a joint statement. We appreciate all the hard work of the talented cast and crew. While we were disappointed we can't deliver this film, we have incredible partners at Universal and will collaborate in a different capacity again soon. Sources familiar with the situation said Universal will absorb roughly $20 million in cost already spent on production. The studio made no comment on the matter beyond the statement from Williams and Gondry. 3 individuals with knowledge of Golden said that the film was in early post-production, meaning it will never be finished, but everyone involved has been paid for work completed. It's understandable why Universal would take the financial hit in favor of its relationship with Williams, though walking away from a film this far along is highly uncommon at the state level. There have been precedent in cases like Warner Brothers Pictures shelving films including Batgirl and Coyote vs. Acme to claim tax losses, though that isn't the case with Universal, a studio put in a strange position to call it a day on the behest of its creators. So essentially, it's like Coyote vs. Acme and what Batgirl and what's going on with Warner Brothers, but it's not at the same time, especially when you consider that this is not the studio saying that we're going to cancel the film. This is from the people who made the film themselves. And yeah, it sucks to see that this hard work that everybody put involved in here is never going to see the light of day. I would have liked to see what this movie would have been like. This was a film I was actually kind of looking forward to checking out, but sadly that's no longer going to be the case, unfortunately. But I mean, I am glad to see that it doesn't feel like that it's not what I thought it was. Because when I first heard the story, I just thought, here comes this new trend in Hollywood. We're going to shut down all these movies that people work their butts off of, and we're never going to see these films anymore, and it's just like, this doesn't feel like that at all. But I really do wish we get to see that footage someday. Maybe we'll get... I would not be shocked at all if this footage somehow leaks out there somehow at some point over the next couple of years, because I feel like this is something that should be at least try to get leaked out there at some point down the road. But yeah, I'm just glad to see that it didn't go down the same pathway as something like what happened at Warner Brothers with Batgirl and Coyote vs. Acme, because yeah, that was my first thought when I read this story. But luckily, it doesn't sound like it's that whatsoever. But I am still kind of disappointed that we don't get to see this movie. But hey, at least you can find at least one good Pharrell Williams movie that he did with Universal, and that's Piece by Piece, which is available out there on Blu-ray. It's one of my favorite movies from last year, and it's one you should definitely check out. And watch Nobody's Gonna Go Out and see that movie now. But, yeah, there you go. That's that story about Golden being shut down. So, let's go ahead and move on to one of the big news stories from this past week, and that is that the Goonies are back. Hey, you guys! I apologize for that, but I had to do it. I mean, when are you ever going to get to talk about a Goonies sequel moving a little bit closer to possibly happening? But this was one of the big stories from this particular week that we're talking about here, and that is that Warner Brothers seems to be gaining momentum on a long-rumored Goonies sequel. And I have the story here from Deadline Hollywood. The Goonies never say die, and neither does the dream of a sequel, as momentum seems to be gaining on the long-rumored project, with Old Henry's Patsy Ponsaroli, I don't even know who that is, coming aboard to pen the script for Warner Brothers. Like I said, I have no idea what this movie is or who this writer is, but I digress. Plot details are currently under wraps, and no director is currently attached. Steven Spielberg, Christy McCosco-Krieger, and Holly Barrio will produce for Amblin Entertainment alongside Chris Columbus, with Lauren Schuler-Donner executive producing. And I feel like maybe this is something that Chris Columbus might direct at some point, because he did write the original The Goonies movie. And I feel like if they were going to do a sequel now that Richard Donner is no longer with us, it'd probably be him. But then again, we'll see what happens. But this Goonies development comes around 2 weeks after a cast reunion at TCL Chinese Theaters in celebration of Ke Kwan's Hand and Foot imprint ceremony, a classic adventure comedy approaching its 40th anniversary. The original introduced the world to a group of misfit kids, Mikey, Mouth, Day-Day, Chunk, and Day-Day, I'm thinking he's the character from Friday, Mikey, Mouth, Dada, Chunk, and others, who embark on a treasure hunt to save their homes and foreclosure. The journeys take them through underground tunnels, booby traps, and encounters with the villainous Fratelli crime family, all leading to the discovery of the long-lost treasure of the pirate One-Eyed Willie. A cornerstone of 80s pop culture, the film launched the careers of young actors such as Josh Brolin, Sean Astin, Corey Feldman, Martha Plimpton, and Kwan. Richard Donner directed from a script by Columbus, which was based off of a story by the project's producer, Spielberg. The idea of a Goonies sequel had been floating around for decades, but despite persistent rumors and interest from fans and some of the other casts, have not yet come to fruition. Oddly, as recently as last fall, stars Feldman and Plimpton were talking on social media to pour cold water on the idea of a sequel. As we were first to tell you, Deadline saying this, Ponsaroli just recently signed on to direct The Rescue, a western starring Brandon Skelenar, which Skydance is looking to shoot this summer, breaking out with Old Henry, a western starring Tim Blake Nelson, which premiered to critical acclaim at the 2021 Venice Film Festival. He, prior to The Rescue, wrapped up on Motor City, starring Alan Ritchson, Shailene Woodley, and Ben Foster, with Stampede Ventures producing. Ponsaroli is also responsible for Lionsgate's crime comedy Greedy People, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Lemmy James, and Himesh Patel, as well as the Billy Ray Cyrus series Still the King. Beyond that, he's directed over 70 commercials and musical videos for artists such as Luke Bryan, Kenny Chesney, Yellow Wolf, Cage the Elephant, and many more in the rock, rap, and country genres. Also the co-founder of Hideout Pictures, which has produced titles like Jay and Silent Bob Reboot and Ted K, in addition to his own films as a director. So yeah, this is basically just saying that, hey, the Goonies sequel, they're hoping to get it going again. Nothing made official yet about it actually moving forward here, but judging by the fact that everyone seems so keen and so high on getting this out there and finally getting it done, it feels like this is moving more closer than we've had in recent years. Whether or not that's actually going to be the case is too early to tell, but I don't know. Like, when it comes to sequels like this, I'm very, very cautious about them, not as optimistic as I could be, especially considering how a lot of sequels based off of 80s movies as of late have not been that good, like Coming to America. But we do get those couple exceptions here and there, like the Ghostbusters movies, or even the Beverly Hills Cop movie we had last summer, Axel F, which was actually pretty good. I mean, It's not a bad idea to try to do this and get a sequel that everyone wants to do. I think there's also been talks about doing another Gremlins movie finally after all these years, but yeah, I think this could go either way. I'm cautiously optimistic about it, but I'm not gonna get my hopes up too high because I've been excited for stuff like this before in the past, and I've been let down big time because of how they turned out. So I'm cautiously optimistic about this, but I mean, it looks like they're moving one step closer to actually getting this to become a reality down the road. So those are some of the big news stories this week, and I want to go ahead and take a look at some stuff that I mentioned before about this next thing I'm going to bring up here, but I saw this because of an article I saw on Variety. So one of the big things about Captain America: Brave New World is the fact that they do finally mention what the hell this thing that's been in the sky since Eternals. What's been the story about that? They finally brought it up in Brave New World, but that's just one of several cameos and storylines that they have promised us, and they have yet to do anything about them. And I found this article on Variety, which does a very good job of completely running down every single one of these post-credit scenes that they've done since the COVID pandemic, and they started putting out these movies again that have yet to be resolved. We haven't had a whole lot of these resolved just yet. And I just want to give you kind of a rundown of all these different, post-credit scenes that they've set up here. I'm just going to run through these pretty quickly. Starting off with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there's a mid-credit scene where you have Sharon Carpenter, played by Emily Van Camp. There are going to be spoilers on this, by the way, so if you don't want to know anything about the MCU in general, you might want what they might be having in the future. You might want to go ahead and just step aside and just head to the next story here. But anyway, Sharon Carter, who was in Civil War, played by Emily Van Camp, receives a full pardon following the events of Civil War and rejoins the CIA, then reveals that she is still operating as the black market criminal, the power broker, and intends to sell government secrets. And they say that, will it ever pay off? If it does, it will almost certainly be in Brave New World or May's Thunderbolts. Well, it wasn't in Brave New World because she wasn't in that movie, but Thunderbolts, this is the only way that could probably still have her in there. Van Camp is not officially in either film, but she could still pop up as a surprise. Stranger things happen every day now. So then they go to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, the mid-credit scene in that film, where you have Bruce Banner and Carol Danvers in there. And in that scene, Bruce and Carol meet up with Shang-Chi, Katie, Awkwafina, and Wong, played by Benedict Wong, to investigate the mysterious beacon embedded in Shang-Chi's 10 rings. And there have been talks about a Shang-Chi sequel for the last couple of years. I think they're getting close to putting it together. So this is something that I think will eventually find its way to getting a resolution pretty soon. Because I think the sequel to Shang-Chi is going to happen sooner rather than later. And then they have the end credits scene here where Shang-Chi's sister, Xialing, takes her place as the new leader of the Ten Rings organization in the compound created by her late father, Wenwu, played by Tony Leung. And again, this is something that is probably going to be resolved when they do the Shang-Chi sequel, which I think is going to happen sooner rather than later at this point. So, and then we get to Eternals, and there's a scene in the movie where Thanos' libertine brother and his diminutive herald materialize, pledging to help the Eternals. Makari, played by Lauren Ridloff, and Drew, Barry Keoghan, and Thena, Angelina Jolie, find their endangered friends. And of course, there's Arrows, played by Harry Styles, and Pip the Troll, played by Patton Oswalt. Yeah, and those characters will more than likely never be resolved because the Eternals was the first real major flop that the MCU had, and basically they're just saying that that's not going to happen anytime soon. So yeah, that's a cameo. That's a subplot that's probably never ever going to get resolved at any point down the road. And then there's the end credits sequence where we hear Blade asking Dane Whitman, played by Kit Harington, is he ready to touch the cursed ebony blade? And of course, Blade is played by Mahershala Ali, who was supposed to star in a Blade movie at Marvel. But of course, it doesn't help that the Blade movie has had so many writers and directors coming in and out, and now it's looking more and more likely that Blade is never going to happen at this point with its current state. It's like Wesley Snipes said at the end in Deadpool Wolverine. There's only going to be one Blade at this point, and it's probably going to be him. So there is that. Then there is Moon Knight, which had a mid-credit sequence where, Jake, played by Oscar Isaac, takes Mark's nemesis, Arthur Harrow, played by Ethan Hawke, out of a mental health institution, dumps him into a stretch limo, and assassinates him. And the big thing in that was that it's the long insinuated second alternative identity of Mark Spector making his debut appearance. And well, that was a pretty good show overall, but it doesn't look like they're going to resolve that anytime soon. It says here that on Variety, it says that Isaac has stated he's interested in returning, and he does voice a variant of Spectre in a recent episode of What If, but it's been years since there's been noise about more Moon Knight. And I remember this one here. This is from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the mid-credits sequence there. The Dark Dimension sorceress, Clea, played by Charlize Theron, tells Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, of course, he's causing an incursion of the universes, and they have to fix it. And this is looking like something that will eventually get resolved in the upcoming Avengers movie or Secret Wars, since there's more than likely going to be a Secret Wars movie coming up down the road here at some point. But yeah, this is looking like something that will probably get resolved and is pretty soon, whether it will be in the Avengers movie or in Secret Wars. So we have Thor: Love and Thunder next. There was a mid-credits sequence in which the powerful, barely clad demigod Hercules, played by Brett Goldstein, is commanded by his father Zeus, played by Russell Crowe, to kill Thor. And they set this character up, and it really does not look like we're going to see another Thor movie down the line here. Even though I didn't hate Thor: Love and Thunder like everybody else did, this is something where it feels like, yeah, we pretty much are never going to see this take any shape and form. This just feels like kind of a pointless cameo and something that they were setting up for potentially a fifth film. But I really don't think the demand is there for another Thor film, especially after the last one. Even though, like I said, I liked the last one. I thought Love and Thunder was actually kind of fun. So, yeah, that's another one of those cameos that I feel like is not going to happen anytime soon. And then this one I felt like was kind of not really spoiling anything for the future films in general, really. But Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, of course, the mid-credit sequence in that where you have Nakia, once again played by Lupita Nyong'o, introducing T'Challa's secret son, Toussaint, or T'Challa 2, played by Divine Love Konadasun, who has secretly been raising him in Haiti to his Aunt Shuri, played by Letitia Wright. And I didn't think this was really setting up anything in general. I thought it was a nice little scene that ended the movie, but we already know there's going to be a third Black Panther movie down the road here, especially according to Denzel Washington, who supposedly is going to have a role in that film. So it'll be very interesting to see how that pans out here. Although I've been hearing some rumors that they are going to try to supposedly they're going to recast Black Panther. It's just like, why would you do that after you did the last movie, which was a great tribute on its own? Just move on from that and just put the focus on Shuri as the Black Panther. Like, you don't need to go back and redo this again. But I didn't think that one was really setting itself up for anything in general. Oh, you might remember this little beauty from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where you have Immortus, Ramatut, Centurion, and a bunch of other Kangs, played by Jonathan Majors, where thousands of Kang variants plot to take over the multiverse. And remember, this is when they were setting up Kang to be the next big baddie, the next big Thanos character, and boy, did that bite them in the ass big time, because Marvel let go of Majors after his conviction of harassment and assault charges, although there have been some rumblings that they might bring him back later on down the road. So, it's more than likely we're not going to see this pan out the way they wanted it to when they were setting this up. I would not be shocked at all if Jonathan Majors somehow, some way made his way back into the MCU as Kang again. I think they'll find a way to bring him back in there. But, so there is that. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I don't know if this was really going to set itself up for another film in the series, but you have Rocket, Bradley Cooper is of course voiced by Bradley Cooper, leading a new group of Guardians, including Groot, Kraglin, Adam Warlock, Cosmo, and Phyla, played by Kai Zen. And I don't know if they were really setting itself up for a new movie in general, unless they were doing it without James Gunn, which more than likely would be the case now at this point. But, of course, now James Gunn is running DC Studios, so it's really hard to think that a new film's going to come out with it without him involved. Honestly, I really don't think we need to do another one of these movies. The last one, I think, set up the ending very well for the series. Just let the Guardians of the Galaxy be a trilogy and move on. And then here's another, speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, we have another one here, and the end credits scene for Guardians 3, where it's just Peter Quill, played by Chris Pratt, eating cereal while gossiping with his grandfather, Greg Henry, about their neighbors. And they're saying here that, it says is at the end of the movie, it says the legendary Star-Lord will return without mentioning the Guardians. So, even though there might not be a Guardians movie anymore, Peter Quill may still return in Secret Wars, possibly the likely option, like with Doctor Strange. But I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't think that's really going to pan out to anything in general on that front. The Marvels. You have this one that features Binary, Lashana Lynch, and Hank McCoy, a.k.a. Beast, once again played by Kelsey Grammer. And in that scene, of course, if you don't remember the Marvels, Monica, Teyonah Parris, awakens into an alternate reality in which the X-Men, including Beast and a variant of her mother, Maria, exist. But we already know that even though the Captain Marvel series may not continue on, the X-Men are definitely going to come into the MCU. Whether or not it's going to be this group of people in the X-Men, we already know pretty much that the X-Men will sooner or later be coming into the MCU. But yeah, it's not looking like it's going to be something where I think we'll see Kelsey Grammer as Beast again. Although it would be pretty cool to see him be brought back into the mix here. At least I think that would be cool to see once again. But and then we have Echo, which actually this is the last one here, and I think this one's pretty much already a given. If you haven't seen Echo yet, while flying back to New York City on his private jet, a wounded Wilson Fisk, Vincent D'Onofrio, overhears TV pundits remarking that the city's mayoral race remains wide open, and an idea begins to form. And of course, that means that, yes, this is going to set up Daredevil Born Again, which is set to come out in about a couple weeks on Disney+, and Fisk has indeed been elected mayor, if you've seen the trailer for it. So that's something that has already been set up that is going to happen. So there you go. A lot of things they've been setting up but have not done anything about, but there's still some stuff here that definitely could happen down the road. So yeah, I see a lot of there's definitely a lot of stuff that they're setting up that they obviously are not going to do. But then again, there are some things here that I could see continuing on into other movies and TV shows in general. So I wouldn't call this. Most of these are ones that I can see continuing on in other forms. But yeah, I can agree with some of these that they were pretty pointless to set up because we all know now that they're never going to happen anytime soon. So. All right, so that's that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next thing I want to cover here. So this past week, we had How to Train Your Dragon drop its big trailer on Wednesday after its preview during the Super Bowl. And again, from that Super Bowl trailer alone, you could pretty much tell that nothing different about this movie compared to the animated film was going to come from this. And sure enough, when that trailer came out, my first thought to myself is, wow. You guys literally did absolutely nothing new or different. This literally looks like a shot-for-shot remake. And don't take my word for it, because the director himself has come out and literally said it's a shot-for-shot remake. And this isn't just any director. No. This is the same director who made the same movie 15 years ago. Dean DeBlois had the balls to come out and tell people literally, we're literally just redoing the same thing we did in live-action form. Which just gives me more and more worry that this is just going to be just a shot-for-shot remake, and two, nothing but a cheap advertisement for Epic Universe, because there's going to be a How to Train Your Dragon area opening up at Universal when Epic Universe opens its doors in May. But yeah, there are people. Yeah, I got upset about this, and when I went to my social media places to talk about it, people were getting mad at me for saying that, at least Disney at least Disney tries to do something different with their live action reboots and literally aren't just coming out and saying, this is. If they're not literally just coming out and saying that we're just making the same movie over again. And people got mad at me. They threw a fit. Like, they got mad at me by saying that, hey, this is, no Disney makes the same movies all the time. And yeah, like, look, let's just be perfectly honest here about I wanted to clarify some comments I made about how, I said that Disney's live action remakes were being not the same as what DreamWorks is doing with How to Train Your Dragon. When Disney makes these live action remakes, yes, they are basically remaking the same movie again. But you know what they're doing? They're adding elements to it they're adding storylines. They're adding elements to it that are different from the previous film to give it a different look to it. It's not just the same film all over again. Like Alice in Wonderland 2010, the Tim Burton movie, is not the same film as the classic 1950s Disney film. Cinderella, the 2015 one, the Kenneth Branagh one, great, one of the best ones. It's definitely not the same movie as the original animated film. The Jungle Book, the Jon Favreau one, definitely not the same film as the original animated movie was. Like Beauty and the Beast, but then you have stuff like Beauty and the Beast, which is literally the same film, except with even stupider elements added to it. Like even a movie that is literally close to Beauty and the Beast, like they add these pointless elements to it. Like I'll never like the book book that they added there. That when I saw it the first time, I got really upset about that. I was just like, why are we adding this? Oh, and more and gross out humor too, because pee jokes and poop jokes need to belong in a movie like this, like Beauty and the Beast. But what was another one that was like that? Aladdin was a different movie than the original film in a lot of different ways. Not a lot of it worked. Most of it pretty did, but definitely the stuff, including the way that Jafar is presented, really does not work in that one. Dumbo, the Tim Burton one, is a much different movie than the original animated Dumbo. Not a lot of it worked, especially with the kids, but still, it was a much different movie compared to what the original Dumbo was. Certainly, there's no stereotypical crows in Dumbo, is in the live action Dumbo, nor is there a talking mouse that helps Dumbo get around. But Lady and the Tramp's kind of very much the same movie in general, and even then, it wasn't that bad of a movie. It was one of the first things Disney Plus ever did when they launched, but. What's another one what was one of the more recent ones they did? I'm trying to think. Like The Lion King is a straightforward remake of the original Lion King. I'm not going to disagree with anybody on that, but I'm still one of those people that says it wasn't as bad as people made it out to be. Like Mulan was trying to do something different and it failed. Pinocchio was trying to be a little bit different compared to the original and kind of failed miserably. Peter Pan and Wendy also had that too. It wasn't that successful. I don't think the Little Mermaid one wasn't that bad either. I mean, they've had a lot of good ones where they've actually been they've been mostly entertaining. They're definitely not going to surpass the originals in general, but of course, we've got Snow White coming up in the next month or so, which, I don't know, it doesn't look as bad as I think people make it out to be. It definitely doesn't look incredible, especially the dwarfs overall, but it doesn't look it. But I don't think it's going to be as bad as people make it out to be. Lilo and Stitch, I think, could be really fun, especially with the marketing they've been doing with Stitch over across the board. Like I'm still looking forward to it just on that front. And then there's the Moana remake, which. That one I'm not looking too optimistic about, but at least because the thing with the Disney live action remakes is that yes, they're remakes of the original animated movies, but they're not just literally ripping off every single thing that they had done with the previous films. They're not literally taking scenes by scene, shot for shot, script by script is from these original movies, with a couple of exceptions, of course, with The Lion King and all that. But How to Train Your Dragon, like. For them to just literally come out and say, no, this is a shot-for-shot remake, and we're more than confident in saying that we're going to do this because you people are going to be so stupid enough that you're going to go see this movie regardless. Which apparently Disney is caving in on that idea because Pixar's latest film Elio just got pushed back a week to June 20th. So essentially, it means that How to Train Your Dragon is going to have that weekend all to itself, and the fact that Disney had to cave in to DreamWorks is just. It's disappointing to think about it, but yeah, I wanted to bring this up because people got confused with what I had to say about me saying that, well, at least Disney's live action remakes are at least trying to do something different, and people took it as me saying that saying that I was completely full of myself, which is not the case at all. I mean, I'm giving you a straight up obvious facts here that Disney tries to do something different with the live action films. It doesn't work all the time. But at least they're doing it, and they're not just flat out coming out and saying that we're literally doing a shot-for-shot remake of the original film, like what DreamWorks is doing. Which probably means which doesn't matter anyway, because How to Train Your Dragon is probably going to make a ton of money regardless, and I'll be sitting here saying that, yeah, it's a hit, but it's not going to be a good movie. I'm just saying right now, it's definitely not going to be a good movie if it's just recreating the same shit over and over and over again. So. Again, that's just my personal take on that. So we got one more thing to cover here, and then we're going to get on out of here. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's that happy time again. Another set of poorly aged commercials has officially been released through the power of Microsoft Sam. This is the same guy that gave us the poorly aged 90s commercials we had a couple of months ago. Actually, over a year ago for that, but we also had poorly aged 2000s commercials. Now we're going back to the 1980s to take a look at some poorly aged 80s commercials. So grab some popcorn, grab a drink, grab whatever you can, and let's go ahead and take a look at some poorly aged commercials, which I have not seen this video compilation. I just know that this video is out there. So this is going to be my first essential reaction to these videos as well. So let's start off with this first one here. This looks like a commercial for Macy's. And it says, "We don't say that word anymore." So I'm looking forward to seeing what this says.
Today, being retarded means leading a full life.
Oh my god. Already off on a high note here, folks. It just takes me back to that 80s commercial we talked about a couple years ago. Help retarded children by clipping these coupons out of this. But yeah, we're off to a great start here, people.
Today, being retarded means leading a full life. Retarded people go to work or school, just like their neighbors, and come back to a real home. A supervised home, right in the neighborhood, where they belong. Being retarded never stopped anyone from being a good neighbor.
I mean, he's not wrong, but still, it sounds really, really wrong. I mean, that's just one of those ones where it's just kind of like, yeah, that's one I could definitely see batting a couple of eyes back. That is nowadays just, man, that's the first commercial. We still got 11 more minutes of this, so.
This is Bill Cosby. Now that everybody has told you about the dangers of doing drugs, I'd like to tell you about some of the benefits. Just imagine yourself unconscious.
I remember this one. This is one from the Nostalgia Critic. Whenever he did the top 11 Bill Cosby commercials, you might remember this one.
Making a visit to a hospital emergency room, weeks in rehabilitation centers.
It's described as Bill Cosby describes what happens to the women he meets.
You can afford, ruining your health, hurting your parents, losing your loved ones, and most of all, destroying yourself. And remember what I say about doing drugs. I think you can say no.
Okay, that one wasn't too bad in general, but okay, this next one here is for AIDS diet candy plummeted in sales after another type of AIDS causes people to drastically lose weight. If you remember AIDS candy, which was the little chocolate candies, but of course they had to change their name because of obvious reasons.
I was overweight and looked terrible, but AIDS helped me lose 46 pounds. The AIDS diet plan helped me lose 28 pounds.
AIDS helps control your appetite so you lose weight. Yet AIDS lets you taste, chew, and enjoy. And the appetite suppressant in AIDS is not a stimulant.
AIDS helped me to lose 18 pounds, and it doesn't contain anything to make me nervous.
Question: why take diet pills when you can enjoy AIDS? AIDS helps you lose weight without making you jittery.
Yeah, without the commercial sitting in front of you, this sounds really, really bad. But it's AIDS, and you not hearing it makes it even worse than it actually is. Like, it's not like when you look at it, it's just kind of like, okay, this was just a company that just had a really, really bad name attached to them at the worst possible time here. But continuing on here, so far nothing too terrible here. But let's see how that continues.
Hello, faggot lovers. Everyone.
Oh my god.
Hello, faggot lovers everywhere. I've a message for you from Birdseye. Birdseye faggots will appeal to your whole family.
Bird's Eye faggots. 4 faggots in rich sauce. Oh dear God. Okay, that's the worst one I've seen so far. Like, it literally says 4 faggots on the packaging here, and it says Google British meatballs for the chapter here.
They've made them with lashings of gravy, but they've gone easy on the spice because kids don't like them too spicy, apparently. Birdseye even suggests that people who don't like faggots could enjoy these. They live in hope. You know, that could be right.
Bird's Eye faggots in gravy. I mean, just wow. I mean, I know that word means cigarettes also in English too. Like, you know, I always remember that from the Clerks episode where they open up the Quick Stop, where they go back. It's like the clip showing they flashback to when they open the Quick Stop in England, and the guy comes in, it's just like pack of fags, and Randall's like, "You're a fag. It's a cigarette, mate. I'm not your mate, fag." And he just beats the crap out of the English guy, but. Yeah, that literally says Bird's Eye faggot in gravy. That's the worst one yet.
Wow, Jay, some guys are sure in a hurry to get to the airport.
Guess he doesn't know about Hertz' new instant return.
O.J. Simpson.
Hertz, you don't have to rush to return your car. Because now Hertz gives you your receipt
O.J. Simpson foreshadowing a slow-speed police chase.
right at your car.
So you have everything
It's a
you need
commercial
to
for
do your
Hertz.
expense report.
I'll have your receipt right away.
It's too bad he didn't know about Hertz instant return.
Now at Hertz, you can rent a T-Bird for just $39.90.
Yeah, that one's not too
or a
bad.
Lincoln
Just the
Town
fact
Car for
that
just
it literally
$44.90.
says O.J. Simpson foreshadowing a slow-speed police chase. Okay, this one says, this Hong Kong toothpaste company later changed their name to Darlie and stopped using a minstrel show character. Okay. This could be pretty bad.
Darky toothpaste gives you a cool, fresh, tingling taste. Darky with fluoride protects your teeth for clean, brighter smiles.
Okay, it's just a picture, like a picture. I thought they were literally going to have a guy in the blackface in general, but yeah, this is definitely one that could be very concerning nowadays. But
all day long.
it's Darky. Okay, yeah, that's much worse, because it literally says in the description down here, this Hong Kong toothpaste company later changed their name to Darlie. Okay, I misread it wrong, but yeah, that's much worse. You have a guy who's a minstrel show character as your mascot, and the name of your company is called Darky. Like, nobody could put that together, honestly.
Toothpaste.
I told you to go to bed already, would you please? I told you 5 times to go to bed.
Oh, come on, Jim, please.
Hey, come on.
Is this what you had in mind when you asked me to marry you?
No. Remember when you first fell in love? With something more like this? Keep it that way. From the Mormons, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
What? That's a weird commercial, but in light of according to the description here, in light of the LDS the Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints Church's abuse cases, they're perhaps not the best source for relationship and family planning advice. Yeah, that commercial I think could speak volumes to that. Oh, this is a classic one. Hi, Pee-wee. What do you got for us today?
This is crack. Rock cocaine. It isn't glamorous or cool or kid stuff.
Whacking off in a porno theater is definitely cool, though. Okay, I'm sorry. I love Pee Wee Herman, man. Like this is just a classic one here. It literally says in the description, Pee Wee Herman was caught in the theater doing something unbecoming of an anti-crack PSA spokesperson.
It's the most addictive kind of cocaine, and it can kill you. What's really bad is nobody knows how much it takes. So every time you use it, you risk dying. It isn't worth it. Look, everybody wants to be cool, but doing it with crack isn't just wrong. It could be dead wrong.
Don't even try it. I mean, the funny thing is, this is not even Pee-wee's not the only person that's done this. There's been other celebrities too, but the fact that it's Pee Wee Herman doing it just kind of makes it all the more hilarious in the long run.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff.
The winner, the teacher who will be going into space, Krista McAuliffe.
Share the excitement as New England's own Krista McAuliffe gets ready to make her dream come true.
Oh, no.
The space lessons are very simple. We came up with a field trip in space.
Teacher in Space, a 1-hour special, Monday night at 8 on WBZ TV4.
Okay, if you don't know who Krista McAuliffe is or what this is talking about, think about the spaceship that blew up on January 28, 1986. That, of course, was the Challenger, and it literally says here, Krista McAuliffe's ride on the Challenger space shuttle did not go as planned, and, yeah, I think we all know exactly what this was supposed to be for, and yeah, that's an awkward one. That's the one where you do the Charles Nelson Riley and go like, yo ho ho, like, okay, continuing on here. We're not even halfway through this video yet.
station New England turns to.
Introducing the advanced car with the backward name. Introducing the 81 Isuzu. It gets
Isuzu
incredible
commercial.
mileage and goes for a little over $5,900. When you make a car this good, it doesn't matter what you call it.
That's okay, kid. I can't say chivalry.
Okay, so it says here, we don't say Oriental anymore, and life in Asia doesn't not resemble a kung fu movie. That one I'm not too certain of. Let me take a look again. Oh, that's for the next one. Okay. This is what it was. Jokes about Japanese people mispronouncing the letter I is stored in the dumpster of history alongside airplane food. Yeah, okay. So the one I was talking about before is the next commercial here.
La Choi Kung Fu Theater. La Choi for dinner?
Yes, America's favorite brand of Oriental food.
Mine too. Oh, boy. Yes, haha. Good. Intruders? Not while I'm eating La Choi.
By the way, I invited the neighbors to dinner.
Then cook more La Choi. I think they've worked up an appetite. La Choi, America's favorite.
And I can tell who that voice of the girl in there. That's the voice of Tress MacNeille. But it says here, we don't say Oriental anymore, and life in Asia does not resemble a kung fu movie. Okay, but again, that one's not too bad. Most of these have not been terrible yet. I think I only saw one, which was the Hong Kong, which was the Faggots Gravy, and also the Hong Kong the Darky Toothpaste. I think those are the only two that I've seen so far that have been kind of like, okay, yeah, that's one where it'd be like, okay, that's not. It's also the Challenger one too. So, but yeah, and other than that though, that's only like what, three of them so far. But I don't know. We still got halfway through the video, so let's see how far we can take this.
Well, music lovers, when you've made as many comebacks as Gary Glitter...
Oh, jeez, Gary Glitter.
You can always come back to the great taste of Heinz lentil soup. Not off. Heinz soup. It's the taste people hunger for.
I like how it says here, Gary Glitter admitted to not liking lentil soup. He's also a registered sex offender. More hot kids. I can think of a few people who like hot kids. That's literally what it says for the description. For example, Gary Glitter. I think a lot of people would say they like hot kids, but wow, that's something that they just poured out there in the open. It's a Kool-Aid commercial.
You forgot the picture.
Hear that, kids? You can't have Kool-Aid unless you're a hot kid. My God, like they really put that one out in the open. Okay, what's this next one gonna be?
You've got your sunrise.
Oh, the classic.
You caught a prize.
Your mate and your Johnson. Of course, this is a classic.
Summer whites. You, your friends and your Johnson. Rooster tails, water trails. You, your kids and your Johnson. Saturday nights, distant lights. You, your girl and your Johnson.
A classic, the Johnson motorboat thing. Just a classic commercial right there. I remember that one from the Nostalgia Critics' first commercial special.
You and your Johnson. Away.
Well, what can you say? You and your Johnson.
Way of life for over 50 years.
Okay, this next one here looks like it has a clown. Looks like Bozo the clown.
Reach out and touch someone.
Reach out and touch someone. I think this is a commercial for AT. I think this is an AT&T commercial, and they say here, reach out and touch someone. That's a soap, brother.
Reach out, call up and just say hi.
Reach out and touch someone. Wherever you are, you're never
Yeah, it's definitely a lyric that can be taken the wrong way, but this one doesn't seem like it's that too bad.
Reach out and touch someone.
Okay, it's Bell System, not AT&T, but it's a phone company, so I guess that one isn't too bad.
Reach out and touch someone far away. Give them a call.
Shanghai Chicken McNuggets from McDonald's.
From Inscrutable Orient to tell you of Chicken McNugget Shanghai. You get free chopsticks with every 9 or 20-piece pack. Perfect for whole family.
Yeah, this is your typical using Chinese stereotypes. Like, do you really need chopsticks to eat chicken nuggets? Honestly, like that one's just that's old stereotypes, and it's just like, why are we bringing this up here in the 1980s? But then again, this is the 1980s. You can pretty much get away with doing whatever you want to, like I said before. But
also get 3 different Oriental sauces: satay, black bean.
So it's Oriental sauces. That's the big difference maker. Instead of just getting regular chicken McNuggets and going out to the store and getting your own thing of chopsticks. Like, who needs chopsticks to eat chicken nuggets, honestly?
And Shanghai sweet and sour with every pack. And as Confucius says, it's always a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
Oh no, more faggots. British meatballs.
Mum, do I like mushrooms? Billy!
Faggots.
Ken! I'm the only one who's got it. Billy! Look, Katie, a big game. Hey, my faggot!
Stop, Big A.
Oh
Billy,
dear.
5 seconds. Mum, this one looks like Uncle Roy.
Get on with your meal.
Mr. Brain's Faggots. A great meal all round.
Yes, Mr. Brain's Faggots is a great meal all around. Oh dear God. Faggots. I mean, the meatball's not what you think it is, but yeah, that's wow, that is something. Is nobody looked at that and thought otherwise.
I was a kid. I loved
here's the classic.
Just to get attention. But now I use Band-Aid.
This takes me back to one of my first videos.
It's the bandage with the see-through strip, so people hardly notice I'm wearing a bandage at all, which is nice, because now that I'm grown up, I want people to notice me, not my bandage.
Only Johnson & Johnson makes Band-Aid brand clear, clearly the best-looking bandage ever. Help us help retarded children. Look for Johnson & Johnson.
Help us help retarded children.
Paper. Warning signs of satanic behavior may be apparent, such as a sudden, bitterly antagonistic attitude towards family and religion, listening exclusively to heavy metal rock music, almost to the point of addiction. When one or more of these warning signs are evident, you should look further for ritual items such as a pentagram or other satanic symbols, black or red robes, a decorative dagger or knife, a chalice or goblet.
Did people think the Satanic Panic was something that they saw out of Indiana Jones? I mean, good Lord. I mean, I know this was the big thing back in the 1980s, and I know that this was also a big thing. I know this was something that was just in the show Hypnotic on Peacock, which is a great show, by the way, that sadly got canceled after one season. Maybe people complained about the too many satanic imagery in there, but this was one of those. This was back at the time when they tried to make this seem like much more than it was. It was basically just fear mongering. It's basically what what Fox News does nowadays to Democrats and Republicans in general. Like, that's fear. They're just fear mongering to people in general. And this was back in the day when they were really trying to push this idea that if you had any of these things that you were worshiping the devil, you were worshiping Satan. When we all know good and goddamn well that was not the case whatsoever.
Black candles. A personal diary with a black cover.
A Death Note notebook. Like you could write down all your enemies that will die in a horrible, painful way. Like, good Lord.
A book of shadows. And copies of publications, such as the Satanic Bible and the Satanic Rituals. And possibly a small, makeshift altar. If you discover items such as these, Experts advise you contact your local law enforcement agency at once.
Yeah, send your kids to jail. Oh my God. Okay, here's the next one here. Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner. The celebrity now known as Caitlyn Jenner caused a four-car pileup that killed a woman. Probably not the best source. Probably not the best source for what? Like the description below here doesn't say what. Oh, here we go. The celebrity now known as Caitlyn Jenner caused a four-car pileup that killed a woman. Probably not the best source for car advice. This is actually the last commercial that we have here, I think. Yeah, this is the last one here. So this is the last commercial we'll take a look at.
As a past Olympic champion, I keep myself in top physical condition. And as a professional race car driver, I keep my car in top condition too. That's why I support Smog Check, California's vehicle inspection program. By the year 1987, it's estimated that Smog Check will help reduce the amount of auto pollution in the air by as much as 25%. That'll help us all breathe a lot easier. And when your car is producing less pollution, it's probably getting better gas mileage and performing better. The average cost of a Smog Check inspection is only $20. If your vehicle does need repair and the smog equipment has not been tampered with, you will not be required to spend more than $50 on repairs. Call this toll-free number for more information about Smog Check. Be good to yourself and to your car.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go find the nearest ditch so I can ditch these bodies of these people that I just killed. Yeah, that is, I'm now just realizing what that joke running gag from South Park was all about when Caitlyn Jenner was showing up during that episode, during when Mr. Garrison was the president as Donald Trump. Like, I'm really starting to put together now what that joke was all about. But yeah, that was the last commercial that we have on here, and yeah, certainly some bangers in there, and yeah, some real doozies of commercials. And there's actually one new commercial set that just came out within the last month that I just noticed over here for Cursed 2010s commercials. So we'll eventually get to that one down the road here, since we pretty much covered all the other decades so far. The poorly aged 90s ones, poorly aged 2000s, and now poorly aged 80s. So we'll get to this 2010s one sooner rather than later. So we will get to that one on another day and time. But there you go. That's poorly aged 80s commercial. So with that said, let's get to some recommendations, and let's get the hell on out of here. Alrighty, so the new releases this week, the biggest new one to come out is, of course, Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. I actually just got the Steelbook pre-ordered off of Macari. Someone had it online already, so I bought it. Should be coming within the next couple of days. It's definitely a movie I've been really looking forward to checking out. It's the Steelbook set, and it just looks so cool, and I've heard a lot of positive things about it, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. We also have September 5th coming out, which at one point was considered to be a big Oscar contender, but that buzz has slowly but surely died out. But it's getting a Blu-ray release this week. I guess there's also The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, which, if you want to go check that out, I guess you could probably check it out. It probably would be better on watching it for the first time on Blu-ray than watching it on the big screen like I did, which caused it to end up in the bottom of my top 10 worst movies list of last year, so... But the ones I'd recommend of the newer releases looks like it's Nosferatu on September 5th. There's also catalog titles. Like, it looks like they're re-releasing the Evil Dead Rise Steelbook from a couple years ago, which was really cool. The first Slam Dunk is getting a 4K release, which I thought that was a pretty cool movie from last year. The Social Network is getting a nice-looking Steelbook. Panic Room's getting a Steelbook. The Keanu Reeves Constantine movie is getting a Steelbook as well, 4K release. Uncle Buck is coming out on 4K for the first time, and that and Summer Rental are getting 4K restorations. And the guy who does, I think it's Hats Off Entertainment, if I'm not mistaken, Joe Ramone, just did a video saying that he's doing commentary for both of those movies. Yeah, Hats Off Entertainment. Great guy who does a lot of good videos about classic comedies from the 80s. And you can tell he loves these old comedies very much because he did these commentaries for Uncle Buck and Summer Rental. So I'm really kind of curious of getting those just for that, just to see an outsider who had not worked on the movie but was such a fan of this work that this guy did. To be very curious to see those commentaries play out in general. So I'm looking forward to finding those somewhere and getting copies of those. But other than that, though, that looks like it's just about it for the recommendations this week. The big new releases, of course, Nosferatu, and I'm really curious to see September 5th. I've heard a lot of great things about it, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking that one out. But Nosferatu is the one that I'm really looking forward to having in my collection sooner or later. But will be sooner, because I already ordered it and it's coming in the mail pretty soon. So, with all of that said, that is going to wrap up another edition of the Reviewing Network Live. Another great week overall. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed this as well. But if you want to see more of these videos and want to see more episodes I've done, please go ahead and take a look at the last episode I did. And also check out the playlist. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Check out all the other videos on this channel too. As I said at the beginning, we just started the Reviewing Network Live Madden 25 tournament today, with the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the New York Giants, followed by the New England Patriots taking on the Tennessee Titans. If you want to go check those videos out, they're available to watch now. Go ahead and take a look at those. And we also have trailer reactions, other videos as well. We have the NFL Network. We have all these other videos I do on this channel, as well as on the main channel as well. Definitely go ahead and check that out. And thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And I will see you all next week with another exciting episode of the Reviewing Network Live. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then, we are out.